So, this is going to be a special kind of interview because we've gone through and actually done one of the tests that Mike's company provides, and we're going to go through the results. The point being to give you the opportunity to better understand yourself as a salesperson and or a sales leader. So, that will be the entirety of this conversation. If that's something you're looking forward to, then keep watching. If you're not interested in that, then there's probably nothing here for you today. Come back next week and see us. So let's get going. Mike, let's talk about this test and let's go through the results and see what kind of a leader I am and how bad I am at it, because I know there's gaps.
Very good. Sean, I really admire your willingness to have this conversation and to have it publicly and to share your experience here. So to be really specific, the test that you've taken is a sales ability test. So it's not necessarily going to show us so much about leadership and your leadership qualities. It's going to help us understand where are the opportunities for you to improve in sales. Now, I have a really particular definition for sales, so I think it's worth sharing that definition because some people out there might be thinking, "Oh, well, hold on a second. I want to run a company. I'm not in sales." Everybody is in sales, whether you know it or not. And my definition for sales is selling is effective communication towards action and commitment. And if you're not sure if you're in sales, just think about how good your kids are, if you have kids, how good your kids are at making sure that you do what they want to do and not what you want them to do. And even your life partner when it comes to where you're going to go out for dinner or go out for a party on Saturday night. We're always selling every day.
And that's why I majored in psychology, because I thought it was the only useful thing I could possibly learn.
Very good. Well, do you want to jump straight into this and have a look at what the results tell us, or do you have questions you want to ask further about the test first?
No, why don't you just share your screen and we can get into it to make sure we have enough time to do the whole thing?
Yep, sounds great. Sounds excellent. One of the things I'll preface this conversation with is that when we look at a sales ability test like this, or when we look at a result like this, there is a lot of detail that comes in our assessments. This being an ability test, we also have aptitude assessments, which measure things like attitudes and competencies and a number of different success factors. But when we look at your result here, the first thing you're going to see is the comments that are made by the researcher. So excellent with people, excellent with sales, and excellent logic. Now,
That's me?
overall, yeah, it
Really?
is.
Oh,
It
okay.
is. And overall, that is an excellent result, right? Now, though, the thing that I want to encourage you and everybody to think about is, when somebody does one of these tests, they're not looking to just get told that they're fantastic. Because
Right.
what we innately look for is, hey, how can I be better? How can I be the best version of myself? Where are my opportunities for improvement? And
Yeah.
so
That's
we're
why I
going to
wanted to
go
do
through
this.
this. Exactly, right? So we're going to go through this, and it is an excellent result. And with your permission, we're going to go through it, still looking for, well, where are the opportunities for improvement? How could we get that extra 1 or 2 or 3% that can make all the difference in the world over time and distance? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, of course. I didn't expect that as my result. I know I'm good with people and I know I'm good with logic and I know that I'm okay with sales. I think the test says I'm better at sales than I think I am. So maybe there's a gap that can help me with my confidence around sales.
Well, look, it's actually really interesting because I have pre-read through all of this to make sure that I was prepared to have this discussion with you, right? And you've got a very, very good sales ability test result, and there are opportunities. So as we go through it, I think you're going to see those, right? So now when we come down, you took 44 minutes, which is within the time frame that we would normally hope somebody would complete this in. And so
Mm.
that's not had any negative effect on your result. The benchmark we use is salesperson also doing cold calls, which that's what we would use for somebody just taking this test on its own. Now, when we come down, we start to see some interesting graphs. So the green bar over here on the left-hand side, that green bar is the score of your average top performer who fits into
Wow.
that category. And your score is the blue bar to the left of that. So
Mm.
you're above a top performer. Which is, again, a great result. Now, we take that overall score and break it into three different areas. So people, sales, and logic. And all three of those areas you have a lot of strength in. Now, when we take those three areas down here, we break them down into individual traits. So the logic traits are the three traits on the right-hand side: discernment, drawing conclusions, and unusual logic. And for all three of those traits, you're at or above the green bar, which is
Mm.
excellent. All the traits to the left of those three are your people and sales traits. And so as you look at this, tell me what grabs your attention when you look across these traits and the graphs.
What's interesting is understanding human nature, but then not knowing how to deal with people. I feel like I know how to deal with people better than the test says I am. I'm a bit surprised by that.
Yeah, you know how to deal with people is just slightly below the green bar, and that's a really interesting trait, or it's a really interesting result, particularly because understanding human nature, general sales knowledge, sales manager, relationship sales, closer, solution selling, these are all 90s and hundreds, right?
Yeah.
Now, what it indicates is it just indicates that there is an opportunity to help you to improve if we were to able to help you with knowing how to deal with people. Now, what circumstances are there where your knowing how to deal with people trait might show up? I don't know. That I can't answer. That I can't tell you. All I know is that based on the data that we've got over the last 45 years, the way that you answered the questions shows that there's an opportunity to improve that somehow.
Mm. The questioner trait. What does that signify?
Yeah, that's a really interesting trait. So what this is measuring is the amount of importance that you place on asking questions. And what it indicates, in fact, I'll quickly scroll down and show you something, because down here all of these same traits are listed again with a more uh, more written description rather than a visual description. So,
Mm.
questioner: this person does not believe in asking questions.
That's weird because I spend most of my time asking people questions.
I know. So there's something that happened when you were completing the assessment, the test itself, where there's a way that you answered the questions that indicates that um, there are times where, and perhaps this is very sales focused, but there are times where you will somehow feel or believe that talking or what you say is more important than asking questions. If I ask you this, where or when does or could that show up for you in a selling process?
I mean, probably discovery, trying to figure out what their problems are.
Hmm.
I've tried try really hard to put the transcripts from my calls into Gemini and learn from those so that I can figure out better questions. So like I'm actually actively trying to improve the questions that I ask in Discovery so that I can have a better conversation with the person I'm talking to. So I know if what I'm selling is actually something that they need.
Mm.
So maybe I'm subconsciously already aware that I have an issue there, but it's still strange because in a non-sales context inside of interviews, I typically don't really talk that much. I typically ask a ton of questions and give great deal of thought to that. So maybe I treat a sales call differently than I do an interview. Maybe I should be treating it more like an interview.
Well, look at that. That is a possibility. The only thing I scrolled down just to show again here how the candidate answered sales marketing questions. The way you answered indicates that you think that talking is more important than asking good questions.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
we've
that's
got,
strange.
yeah, we've got a few data points that indicate a similar thing. And so I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, this is right, and no, you want to get better at asking questions. What I would say is it would be worthwhile for you to put your attention on this and be aware as you go through your next 5 or 10 or 20 sales conversations. Have an awareness of, do you find yourself, I'll say, dropping into talking too much or telling too much?
Hmm.
You may or may not find that that happens. It could happen more when there's a degree of pressure or a stressful conversation that's happening. I don't know you well enough to say, well, this is what I've observed. So all I can go on is what this is sharing with us.
Sure, it's still valuable.
Yeah, well, it's a thing to inspect and be aware of. My experience over the last 20 years of using these assessments is that what they reveal, it always shows up somehow. It's just a matter of being able to work out, well, what is the way that that shows up in my life?
Hmm. I can say that I have had instances where I felt like people were asking me, like friends or people would like, let's say you go to a networking event, people will want to ask me questions. And my life has been so interesting compared to most people I meet that they don't want to talk about themselves. They want to know more about me. And so maybe I have learned over time that I'm more interesting than other people. Therefore, me talking is more valuable than them talking.
Yeah, look, possibly. I don't know. I don't know you well enough to comment about that and to have my own personal experience of you. Is that possible? Sure. Could that be an underlying subconscious belief that shows up that way? Maybe. I don't know. It's possible.
So the other one is discernment. What does that mean? It says I'm just above or at. I can't. It's hard to tell, but it looks like I'm just at.
Yeah, just slightly above the green line there by like a point, right? So discernment is measuring your ability to differentiate one thing from a similar group of things.
Oh, I remember that one. That was difficult. I thought back to like my high school like SAT prep. Like I was thinking about the college prep where they would say, okay, this thing is to that thing as something is to something else. And so I went back to that, even though it's been like 20 something years since I did that. I went back to that and I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, I've got to make sure that I do this the way I did it back then. Cause that back then I did I think an okay job. So it seems like I did an okay job using that same strategy.
Yeah, you absolutely did. What we've established over the last, well, the researcher who created these, I think it was 45 years ago that he created this. And what we've established is that these traits are the traits that apart from attitude and in general competency, these are the traits that will determine a person's potential to to succeed in a sales environment.
Discernment specifically.
No, no, no. All of these traits as a whole, right? So not discernment by itself. All of these traits.
So how does discernment impact?
A person's sales ability.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so if you think of discernment, one way that you can think of discernment is in a person's ability to differentiate buying signals,
Mm,
to differentiate um, the the ideal client description and how that actual person shows up in real life, and their ability to see and identify that's a person that I want to talk to, or this is a person that I want to make sure I keep the conversation going with, versus actually that person really is not our ideal client description, that they don't fit. That is the ability to discern.
mm. I feel like that's a fair assessment because like sometimes people will say, okay, let me get back to you. I'm going to talk to my marketing team, whatever. And I've learned that like now, at least half the time, that means screw off. Basically, it's just a nice excuse to get out of the call. But then the other half of the time, they actually come back and they actually pay. And so that's difficult for me because I don't know which of the times they're going to come back and which of the times they're not. And so I just haven't had enough specific sales calls to be able to learn that skill. So I feel like I need more sales calls to learn better how to discern who is a yes but not yet, and who is a definite no, and whether they're trying to be nice to get out of the call or whether they just need more information. So I agree. My skill there isn't developed very well yet.
Well, and that's fascinating because that what you just described there actually goes hand in hand with asking questions. So the most experienced and best performing salespeople know that when someone says, for example, I want to think about it, or I want to talk to so and so about it, the best and most experienced salespeople will, not all the time, because the best and most experienced salespeople trust intuition, right? But a big percentage of the time, instead of saying, okay, no problems, come back to me, they'll actually persist with more questions.
That's something I've had to learn.
Yeah. If somebody goes, oh, I want to think about it. Okay, great. So look, just to make sure I understand, what specifically do you want to think about?
In the beginning, I would just let them go. I'd say, all right, no, fair enough. Let's talk. Let's do another call in a week or whatever. Let's follow up by email, whatever. And then crickets. And so I've been learning, hey, so I understand like what let's talk. So it's something that I'm figuring out now how to do. Um, Especially when they say I'm like on the intake form, they'll say they're the sole decision maker, but then on the call they go, yeah, but I've got a marketing director and this is coming out of their budget. I need to talk to them. So say, okay, well, what can what answers can I give you that like your director might have a question about? Or so I'm trying to, or, oh, what if we had another call with the marketing director? I actually had a call a month or so ago with the CEO of like a 50 or 60 million dollar per year brand, and the marketing director was on the call. I didn't invite them. Like I have no problem if they're on, but I never experienced that before. And I was like nervous. Oh no, this person's going to get in the way. Like I'd rather just talk directly to the CEO. But what I found was the marketing director had a lot of power over the CEO. So much so that I spent the vast majority of the time selling the director, and the director on the call convinced the CEO to do it.
There you go.
And I was like, I should be talking to marketing directors, not CEOs, because the marketing director gets it. The CEO doesn't.
So the marketing director for you can become that internal supporter.
Yeah.
They can become the internal supporter to help you get it across the line. The internal stakeholder that stands up and goes, "Hey, this is a good idea."
Yeah. But then I had another call like a week or two after that with someone who wasn't the director. They were in marketing, but they weren't the top of the department. And they sunk the sale for me. I think the CEO was interested and they were like, yeah, we're not doing any of that stuff right now. And I'm like, okay. It's hit or miss. I think it depends on the position of that other person and the power they have within the organization. Because some are really close and some are not. Like I had a CMO in my tech company, but if he came to me and said, let's do, like, he didn't have the power to do something without me saying yes. So we would have to have a conversation, and I'm able to understand the cost benefit analysis of an opportunity. So I'll be able to go, yeah, that's not going to happen, or okay, let's do it. Um, I think it depends on the power dynamic among the executives of the company. So it's a very interesting social psychological dynamic, which I think I'm a lot more tuned into than sales specifically.
Yes, yeah. What's the way that an organization makes its decisions, and what is the power structure that exists there? Who has the authority to make the decision?
Exactly. And then Hunter is just a few points under, but it's still lower than those other ones. So I want to ask about that. What's a Hunter?
So Hunter is measuring it's cold call ability. It's understanding how to go out and create new business from nothing. So Hunter is kind of like a really good hunter is somebody who they're not going to care about how many leads they're being provided from online marketing. They're going to go out and they're going to find their own leads. They're going to go and hunt. They're going to go and create referrals. They're going to go and knock on doors. They're going to make cold calls on the phone. They have an understanding of and an ability to go and create that.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree that that's a more developed skill that I have. Actually, I invested in an AI and automation agency, and I've known the founder for 28 years. It's actually his birthday today. And he is an operations guy. He was actually the COO of my last tech company. He's very much an operations guy, and he's not so great at the people stuff like I am. And so I'm actually in the process right now of building a referral network for him so that he can focus on the development of the product and serving of the customers and all of that. And he constantly tells me how amazed he is of my ability to just constantly go out and find people to talk to. He's like, if you have an idea, within like 3 days, you've got 10 people that you're booked calls with to talk about this idea. Even if they're not potential clients, even if they're just someone in the industry, someone that's serving those eyes, like you are just so good at like finding these people and talking to them and learning from them really fast. Is there any value in this idea? Can this idea help your people, et cetera? So he's like, I wish I could do that, but it's not who I am. It's not what I'm focused on. I'm an ops guy. Like, it's just me. I love talking to people.
Yeah, and it is an innate skill. And I'm a believer that it is a skill that anyone can learn.
But I think it's also very personality because I have this this desire to talk to people, and sometimes not maybe it doesn't annoy my wife, but I think maybe she admires it a little bit as well secretly because she's also kind of introverted, but her job forces her to be extroverted, and she sees just I'm naturally extroverted, and so she sometimes is like, wow, I can't believe you're like just talking to these strangers. And now she's Asian, so there's also that part to it, I think. But um, yeah, I think it's just a personality thing. I think it's a skill you can learn, but if you have the personality for it, it makes it a lot easier. It doesn't feel like a skill to learn. It feels like part of who you are.
Yes, if you have it, that's correct. Um, you have a very interesting profile here because we've talked about a bunch of things on the left all the way through over to like your solution selling's excellent, your assertive score is really strong, very strong listener, uh, exceptionally strong managing fear, and one of the Two of the biggest things that you actually have going for you is a very strong not nice score and a very strong humble score.
What does a high not nice score mean?
That's a good question. So that trait, not nice, is actually measuring your ability to be not nice.
So it means I can be an asshole if I want.
No, no, it means that you have the ability to be not nice. And so think of it in terms of the opposite. So if you score too low on not nice, that's going to mean that you'll err on the side of being way too nice all the time.
Mm,
And so somebody who's way too nice all the time, they become a doormat.
mm, like my dad.
You have the ability to be not nice, so you have the ability to be firm. You have the ability to call a spade a spade. It doesn't mean you're going to do it in a rude way, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be an asshole. It means that you have the ability to be not nice. And that's actually a really significant strength.
I've had to deal with a lot of BS in my life.
Mm, yeah.
I, I'm surprised at at the humble score. I feel like that's too high.
Look, what it's showing me is that you're somebody who is, you're willing to inspect, you're willing to admit mistakes, you're not overly prideful or arrogant or egotistical. It's showing me that you're willing to learn. And look, man, I'm going to make a personal comment here. There's not many people who have met with me over the years. In fact, you're the first person who's met with me over the years with the intention of having a conversation about the sales ability test and publishing it for the world to listen to. So
Yeah, why
that's
not?
showing a degree of humbleness right there.
I mean, it's a way for other people to learn, right? What's the point of me taking the time to do this and you taking the time to help me and then me not share that with other people because they have the ability to hopefully learn something for themselves. Everything is a learning opportunity. And deep down, I'm an educator at heart. You know, I was like, my first job out of college was as a teacher. So, and I did it for years. So it's even though I haven't been a teacher for years, I still teach people any chance that they're willing to listen to me about anything that I'm willing to, that they're willing to listen to me talk about, even if they're not paying me.
Yep. Well, that's funny. My first job or career out of university was sales. I cut my teeth going door to door and business to business in Sydney, New South Wales, in Australia, and I learned how to sell by going out and representing phone companies and energy companies and things like that. Um, and I then spent 10 years building sales teams on behalf of large corporate clients. I wish that I had had access to this test back in 1997 when I first started my career in sales. Man, I would have learned so much faster had I seen what I didn't understand about the process. So, these become really valuable as a learning tool.
I feel the same way about like Duolingo. I know it's not exactly the same, but still down the same vein, where I have a natural ability for language. However, the languages I've learned until very recently were without an app. Like when I was living in China and I taught myself Chinese, I didn't have a smartphone. They didn't exist yet. So there was no Duolingo. There was no app that said, hey, this is the next word you should be thinking about. This is the next verb. I learned based on if someone said it and I didn't understand it and it was something I felt like I needed, I would ask them to write it down for me on a notepad. I carried a notebook and a paper with me, or sorry, notebook and a pen. So I only learned what I needed to learn as I needed to learn it, and it took years, but I learned in a natural way. And so I had time to refine my skill. But if I had an app like Duolingo 15, 16 years ago, I would have learned Chinese probably 10 times faster.
Yep, 100%. And getting, I have viewed sales as an apprenticeship for a long time. If you really want to learn how to sell, the way you're going to learn how to sell is go out and sell, attempt to sell, and then work with somebody who can help you to understand the principles that govern the whole process of selling. And when you're successful, what you'll find is that you've actually followed those principles. And when you're not successful, what you'll find is you've broken one of the principles.
Hmm.
Mm.
So I need to figure out how to ask more questions, and I need to figure out, using the answers to those questions, who is more likely to actually want this or not. And how to deal with people is a little bit more of an unknown. Maybe that will improve by improving the questioning as well.
Yeah, yeah, it will. Yeah, I look, I have written a book called Sales Scripts Are Dead, and I'm very happy to give it to you for free. In fact, any of your listeners who would like it, I'm actually very happy to provide it for free. We do sell it online, but I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today about this, and I hope your listeners find this valuable. If this can help them to develop their own journey along the skill of mastering sales, I'm happy to provide that. So if anybody would like it, they can request it. We'll send it through in an email.
Yeah, sounds good. So what I'll do is I'll put a link in the video description. I'll make a pinned comment for it, and then I'll make a special poll just to point it out for people within a few days, let's say 3-4 days after this video comes out, so that I'll be able to give them the opportunity to specifically say yes, I want it, in case they missed the video, or in case they're not paying attention to the description and all that.
Yeah, perfect, man. And I'll send through the book to you, and feel free to forward it to anybody who requests it, or if they want to email me directly, that's okay too. No problems at all.
All right, sounds good. Well, I appreciate the time and the energy. Is there anything left from this that you want to mention?
Look, overall, your profile is excellent from a sales ability perspective. There's a few things that you can read down here. All of those traits are broken down into up to 3 subtraits. And in this description, you'll see that each subtrait can have its own uh, rating. So here, sales manager strength, an excellent understanding of aggressive sales, sales manager communication, and supervision. So all 3 are excellent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But closer, an excellent savvy of persistence and closer reading people, but good closer bravery. So there's
Yeah.
quite a lot in there that you can read. Yeah, you see those subtleties in what you read in those written descriptions. And what you'll also find is that if you click on this, there's a hyperlink. Every one of these traits, when you, even up here, every one of these traits has a hyperlink that you can click on. It will take you to the back end of my website to a page that will give you the specific definition for that trait. And it will also tell you that if your score is between here and here, it means this. If it's between here and here, it means this. So this, couple of page report all of a sudden quickly becomes a 30 or 40 page report pretty effortlessly. So I'll email your results through to you. Take the time to go and have a look through all that. And if you want to ask any questions later, you know how to reach me.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your energy. And hopefully, those of you watching found this interesting and there's something for you to learn about yourself.